Hello, beautiful people. So I'm gonna talk about my two videos. Yes, I chose two videos for my Morrie final project because I think that both of them have a very powerful message. So the first one is called the most shocking second a day video by the organization Save the Children. And the second one is called One Day by the organization Live Vest Inside. So I'm going to start with the first one, the most shocking second a day video, which is a video that is trying to alert the world about the impact of war on children. So I'm going to play it so you guys can watch because it's really, really nice. And well, I'm going to try to comment on it and I hope you guys enjoy. So in the beginning we have a little girl celebrating her birthday happily and making a wish. Then the scene changes and we start to see her daily life. So her mother arranging her hair, she kissing her friends, kissing her, she playing with her friends, doing things that children usually do. But then we can hear the sound of airplanes, TV news, and we notice that her parents are kind of agitated and worried about something, which is kind of scary. Then we finally discover that the little girl's country is on war and the population is being attacked. And after that we see her trying to escape with her parents, living on the streets, trying to find food. Well, anyway, living as a war refugee. Kind of sad. In the end of the video, she's finally saved by probably her country's army and sent to the hospital. There celebrates her birthday, but we can see that she's, totally traumatized by the experience. And she's not the happy and radiant girl that she was in the beginning of the video. Then we have this awesome message which says, just because it isn't happening here doesn't mean it isn't happening. Save serious children. So the part when the little girl becomes a war refugee and is running away with her family reminds me of a quote on page 163 in which Morrie says, "Be compassionate and take responsibility for each other. If we only learn those lessons, this world would be so much better a place." I think this quote provides the key to solve conflicts and wars, which is to love, basically, because in my opinion, the lack of love is probably the reason why the world is such a chaos and why innocent people suffer so much. So what Moore is trying to say is that if there were more love in the world, there would be more happiness. So the little girl in the video who kinds of represents our children who suffer because of war would not have to go through that kind of experience. The video also reminds me of Morrie's quote on page 149, which pretty much has the same idea as the one I just mentioned. But on this page he says, "Love each other or perish." Again, in my opinion, Morrie emphasized the importance of love, and he says that the lack of it leads to unhappiness. So I connected this quote to the part when the little girl is rescued and is in the hospital, because we can see that in the beginning of the video she was like so bright and radiant, but after being a war refugee, she becomes so hopeless and kind of traumatized that when her mother asks her to make a wish, she doesn't do a wish. Doesn't do it. It's as if, she lost all her hope and faith in the world, which is, in my opinion, pretty much the same thing as to perish. Last, in the end of the video, there's a message that says, just because it isn't happening here doesn't mean it isn't happening. Save serious children. I connected this quote, this message to Moore's quote on page 50, where he asks Mitch, "Do you think because I'm dying, I shouldn't care what happens in this world?" So I think both phrases mean that we should be aware of what is happening in the world, even if it is not happening close to us. And that being busy or not interested is not an excuse to not be aware. After all, I mean, even Morrie, who was about to die, was aware of the things happening in the world. So the next video is called One Day by the organization Life Best Inside. and it is about a kindness chain and how being kind helps to create a better society. I'm not gonna show the whole video because it's too long, but I really recommend you to watch it because it's really inspiring. Well, anyway, the beginning of the video, there is this boy who falls to the ground, and then he's helped by this man, who I believe is a carpenter, and he also is the person who starts the kindness chain. Then this boy, after being helped, he's gonna help an old lady who's carrying a lot of plastic bags, and later this old lady, she helps a woman who is trying to, I believe, pay the parking lot fee. Then this woman is gonna help another person, and so on. So in this way the kindness chain continues, and it's interesting because in the end of the video, there is a waitress who was also helped, and this waitress, she will also help another person. But it's interesting because she's gonna offer a cup of water to a man who coincidentally is the carpenter who started the chain. So it's kind of like a cycle in which everything you give, you receive. The end of the video, when the man gets a cup of water, can be connected to a quote on page 128. Morrie says, "Do the kind of things that come from the heart. When you do, you won't be dissatisfied, you won't be envious, and you won't be longing for somebody else's things. On the contrary, you'll be overwhelmed with what comes back." In my opinion, when the carpenter helped the little boy who was skateboarding, he was not expecting to receive something in return. He simply followed his heart and did an act of kindness. What Moore is trying to say is that when we do things that come from our heart, we receive something back. Sometimes it is something concrete, as a cup of water, and sometimes it's probably something abstract. I also connected the lyrics of the video one day, which unfortunately I don't think you could listen to it, but there is a part of the lyrics that says, "One day we'll all be free and proud to be under the same sun." So I connected this part of the lyrics to a quote on page 167 where Morrie says, "Make peace with yourself and everyone around you." So I think the Morrie's lesson is that what he said is a way to achieve what the lyrics of One Day say. So in other words, only by making peace with ourselves and people around us will be able to be free and live under the same sun proudly and with no prejudice or hatred. There's also a scene in the video where there's a man and a hot dog seller, and both of them give a hot dog and water to a homeless man who is on the sidewalk. And I connected this scene to a quote on page 126 where Morrie says, "You know what really gives you satisfaction? Offering others what you have to give." So I feel that at the moment, the hot dog and the water were the only things that those two people could offer, could give to someone. And that was meaningful. I mean, they gave to someone who really needed. It was an act of kindness, and I'm sure they were satisfied by doing that. Finally, I connected this quote on page 127, in which Morrie says, "Devote yourself to loving others, devote yourself to your community around you, and devote yourself to creating something that gives you purpose and meaning." But this quote I connected to the whole video in general because I feel that if we devote ourselves to our community, as Morrie said, and to loving others, we will create exactly that kind of society that the video shows. The kind of society where everyone is kind, and where everyone is contributing to make people, to give more happiness to people.